first-class graduate reveals incredible secret. Inviting her mad mother to graduation changed everything. Emma stared at her graduation gown, feeling its weight like a heavy blanket wrapping around her. The news of her achievement had rippled through their small Midwestern town, but it wasn't the degree that kept her up at night. It was the choice looming before her. Should she invite her mother? The townsfolk had their whispers. Mad, they said. Emma's heart twisted painfully. The vibrant woman who once filled their home with laughter and joy had faded into the shadows of mental illness, leaving only a lingering sense of shame and confusion. The local grocery store, where Emma worked part-time, rang with familiarity. As she stocked the shelves with hope, she wrestled with her thoughts. It was just the two of them after her father left, stories echoing between stacks of canned beans. Memories of bedtime stories washed over her, and it felt like a lifetime ago before stigma piled on top of her mother's struggles. She had fought so hard to shine, to be that beacon of hope, but was her past worth tarnishing that? As graduation day approached, the weight of her responsibilities grew heavier, making college life feel like a balancing act. One misstep and everything could fall. Each night, she worked on assignments when all she could think about was her mom, trapped in a world of misunderstanding. Emma felt the tension rise as the curtain of finality drew closer. The whispers at the grocery store grew louder, and classmates shared judgmental looks. How could she risk her hard-earned success inviting a mad woman? But the love buried deep inside nagged at her, urging her to reach out, to extend an olive branch of hope. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The night before the ceremony, doubt danced in her heart. Tension turned into fists in her stomach, aching with anxiety as she replayed memories of their fractured relationship. Her mother had always been unpredictable, but the hope of her arm around Emma's shoulders as she walked across the stage ignited a flicker of possibility. With hesitant fingers, she finally dialed the number. Each ring felt like an echo, shattering her resolve as she envisioned that moment. But then came the news. Her mother had caused a scene, the kind of chaos that sent ripples of shame through Emma, the kind that sealed her lips. When graduation day dawned, Emma's heart thudded, a cacophony of emotions. Surrounded by happy families, the laughter stung deep within her. She found herself scanning the crowd, longing for her mother, yet dreading what it might bring. And then, like a whisper from destiny, she saw her mother, a whirlwind of color and emotion. But the tension ripped through the air. She stumbled, shouting wild words that echoed embarrassment. The crowd's reactions, the faces of shock and judgment, cut through Emma like shards of glass. Yet in that moment of chaos, something remarkable happened. With tears pooling in her eyes, she embraced her mother, letting love drown out the whispers of madness. As their hearts connected in that fierce hug, something shifted in the crowd, a collective gasp that morphed into curiosity. For one fleeting moment, everything else faded away: pressure, judgment, choice, leaving only the truth of unconditional love. Emma's heart raced. Could this transformation break the chains that bound her family? In the spectacle of chaos, an uncharted path stretched before them, and the buzz of uncertainty drew every eye. Would this moment redefine their journey, bridging the gap between love and stigma? The question hung unspoken, forging a powerful connection worth fighting for. Emma's heart pounded in her chest, the rush of the moment still swirling around her like confetti in the wind. The faces of her classmates blurred into a stream of disbelief and surprise, but all she could feel was the warmth of her mother's embrace. It was as if, in that instant, the chaos melted away, and they stood alone in their universe, mother and daughter, against the world. Her mother's erratic behavior had always drawn stares, whispered judgments that felt sharper than any knife. But now, in the midst of the crowd, Emma felt something shift. The initial shock had given way to murmurs of understanding. Some faces softened, as if recognizing the bonds that truly mattered. Others continued to show discomfort, but Emma clung to the remnants of hope blossoming amidst it all. Holding her mother tighter, Emma whispered, "I'm so glad you're here." Her voice trembled with tears she didn't know could flow at such a moment. A simple statement, yet layered with the weight of everything unsaid between them. The ceremony continued around them, but Emma remained frozen in place, grounding herself in this unexpected connection. She could hear the crowd's murmur, a mixture of shock and empathy, and it struck her. She didn't just want to redefine their relationship, she wanted to redefine the narrative surrounding not just her, but people like her mother. The thought sparked a fire in her heart, igniting a determination fueled by love and an unwillingness to let fear dictate her future anymore. As the graduates started to line up, her mother's voice broke through the noise. "Emma, I'm proud of you. You did it. You're amazing." Those words flowed out with a rawness that stunned Emma. In the past, they had been buried beneath layers of her mother's struggles and emotions. Hearing those affirmations now was like sunshine breaking through storm clouds. Emma couldn't help but smile, feeling a rush of mixed emotions. "I couldn't have done it without you," she replied, her voice firm against the tide of her doubts. In that moment, the crowd around them began taking notice of something remarkable. They weren't just witnessing a spectacle, they were experiencing the rawness of love and vulnerability. As they stepped back, finally preparing to join the sea of graduates, Emma caught sight of familiar faces in the crowd, her classmates, the whispers still lingering in their expressions, but there was something different in their eyes now. Was it understanding? Compassion? She stepped up to the stage as her name rang through the air, a symphony of pride from the announcer cutting through her uncertainty. With each step, the cheers and applause echoed, but what mattered most was the voice inside her, the voice that dared to believe this is just the beginning. When Emma received her diploma, the crowd erupted in loud appreciation. Through smiling eyes, she glanced back at her mother, who jumped up and down as if celebrating a championship win. This moment was multifaceted. It started as an act of defiance, but transformed into a stand against stigma wrapped in love and family. As she walked off the stage, the weight of her torn past lifted a little more, leaving space for new beginnings. She faced her mother, fierce and full of potential. "What's next for us?" Emma asked with a smile, feeling the fresh winds of change swirling around them. But before her mother could respond, an unexpected figure stepped forward from the crowd. An old friend, someone from their past, with a familiar, unsettling look of concern. Emma felt a jolt of uncertainty. What now? Would this outsider's presence threaten the fragile new bond they were beginning to strengthen? The buzzing questions hung between them, shattering the celebratory air. Emma's heart raced again. Would their journey of healing be questioned before it truly began? She needed answers, and quickly. Emma's breath caught as she faced the looming figure stepping forward. The familiar outline of Riley, her childhood friend, sent waves of nostalgia crashing against the shore of her newfound resolve. His eyes, usually bright and warm, now carried a cloud of uncertainty that pressed against her confidence. "Emma," he started, his name cracking against her heart like ice. "I didn't know you were, I hadn't seen you two together like this." The simple statement struck Emma harder than she expected. She had crafted a fragile bubble of acceptance, only to feel it threaten to burst in the face of an old friend's gaze. She glanced back at her mother, who was still caught up in her own world of joy, utterly oblivious to the tension now brewing between the three of them. "Yeah, well, things have changed," Emma replied, trying to sound casual despite the weight of her words. "We're working on it." Riley shifted, his unease palpable. I wanted to check on you, with everything that happened." His voice trailed off, and Emma felt the weight of unspoken thoughts hang between them. He had always been the one to understand the chaos surrounding her mother, the whispers that followed, and the burden of expectation. "Things are better," Emma insisted, her voice rising a notch as though to drown him out. She wrapped her arm around her mother's shoulders, pulling her closer. "We're moving forward." At that moment, something cracked within Riley's facade. "But, Emma, I know the challenges you faced. I mean, is this really the change it seems? It just feels different?" Emma finished for him, her frustration boiling over. "Yes, it feels different, because it is. I'm not ashamed anymore. Neither should she be." Riley's brows furrowed, his concern morphing into something deeper. "You know I care about you, right? It's just, are you sure you're ready for all of this? The world isn't always kind." Emma wanted to scream, to push against the invisible walls that kept her boxed in. "And what do you want me to do, Riley? Hide away? Pretend she doesn't exist?" The crowd continued to buzz behind them, and a live entity swirling with mixed feelings of celebration and uncertainty. Emma lost sight of them for a moment, consumed by her challenges. "I don't want you to hide, Riley," answered softer now. "But it's not just about you, Emma. This is about your mom, too. People don't change overnight. And you both—" The tension in her chest expanded and constricted. "You think I don't know that?" she shot back. Suddenly, she was that fragile girl again, longing for acceptance. "It took us years to get here, and now that we are, you want to tear it apart?" Tears threatened to spill. Emma's emotions had run rampant for too long, and she fought to rein them in. She felt a surge of uncontrollable anger directed at the world for not understanding them. But just as quickly, she felt a wave of warmth radiate from her mother, who reached up to cup Emma's cheek. "Honey," her mother whispered, "we'll figure this out together." Feeling the warmth of her mother's hand steadied her. But could she really trust that? Would Riley's doubts crush her already fragile sense of hope? Was this really the new beginning, or just another cycle of the past rewriting itself? Riley stepped closer. "I just want what's best for you," he said, vulnerability flickering in his eyes. In that moment, Emma was reminded of the poignant truth. Healing was a process, but so was trust. Could this be the moment that began to mend old wounds, or would it deepen the rift she was trying so hard to bridge? And as she stood there, conflicted and hopeful, she realized a simple but terrifying truth. The future was unwritten. How she navigated this growing web of emotions could change everything, and she wouldn't back down now. "Whatever happens, we'll face it together," Emma finally said, her voice steady but full of raw emotion. But would her past let go, or would the shadows continue to loom? As she turned back to face the crowd, she caught sight of other familiar faces watching intently, whispers of concern mixing with the cheers from before. Something deep within her stirred. If she chose to stand for herself and her mother, could she find a way to redefine the narrative not just for her family, but for Riley as well? What lay ahead felt daunting, but there was no turning back now. She had years of stories to tell, and the first chapter had just begun. Really, Emma, I'm so proud of you, you know? This day is a big deal. Everyone's been talking about how you invited her to grad. Can you believe it? Her words lingered in Emma's mind. A big deal. I just wanted to celebrate with my mom, Emma replied, honesty slipping through her defenses. It's taken so long for us to feel like a family, but today it finally means something. I get it, Sarah said, her warmth brightening the air around them. But don't forget, not everyone will see it the same way. Emma nodded, fully aware that the path ahead was steep and uncertain, but she wouldn't let that dampen her spirit. She wanted to anchor herself in the truth of her journey, to push past the fear of judgment. Look, Riley chimed in, I really think you should talk to her. Maybe explain. I can't keep explaining, Emma interrupted, her voice rising slightly. This is who we are now. It's not some dirty secret or a shameful part of my life anymore. We deserve this chance. As she spoke, self-assertion flooded through her. The moment she'd gathered her courage to invite her mother out, something shifted within her. She was no longer hiding. Fighting back doubt, she locked eyes with Riley. I want to be proud. I want to stand tall, not just for me, but for her too, she said. Whatever happens next, whether it blows up or shines, it's our story to write now. Riley seemed taken aback, the slight confusion on his face hitting a nerve deep within Emma. Did he not see her determination? Did he think this event wouldn't matter? Silence fell around them briefly, the buzz of the crowd fading into a muted hum. Emma, maybe some people won't understand, but you've got to trust in your mom and yourself. Trust, Emma mused. The word echoed around her, heavy yet hopeful. Would she ever fully trust that everything would be all right? And as her eyes flicked back to her mom, who was now waving cheerfully at someone across the yard, the warmth of their bond washed over Emma yet again. Perhaps that was the key. Perhaps they could figure things out together, even against the tide of outside opinions. But just as she turned to address Riley again, the deep rumble of thunder broke through the clear sky, chilling her bones. The sudden contrast sent a shiver down her spine. Was this an omen? An indication that the calm before the storm had finally arrived? Riley, she began, worry clinging to her voice. And as droplets began to fall, Emma felt her heart race. Could she stand strong in their truth when the world around her was about to unleash its fury? Because today was just the beginning, and she was not just fighting for her own narrative. In the distance, Emma caught a glimpse of another familiar face, a shadow from the past that threatened to pull her back once more. Would she find the strength to stand her ground when the storm broke loose? Emma's heart pounded as she squinted through the sudden rain. The familiar face was moving toward her, and each step felt like a jolt of lightning. Her breath hitched. Was it really him? Was this the confrontation she'd expected but dreaded at the same time? Emma! The voice broke through the drumming of the rain, unmistakably familiar. It sent a ripple of conflicting emotions through her. Jake, her high school nemesis turned college acquaintance, standing there with a half smirk and a dripping umbrella. What are you doing here? She tried to keep her voice steady, but it trembled slightly. She hadn't seen Jake in weeks, and now, here he was, as if he'd conjured himself from her past. I came to show support. He gestured at the crowd, but his eyes locked back onto hers. Didn't want to miss your big day. Well, except for the weather, maybe. Yeah, it's really coming down. She managed a weak smile, trying to mask how unsettled she felt. Your mom's here, right? He asked, peering over her shoulder. The curiosity in his tone betrayed a hint of judgment. It was the world she had navigated around for so long, the one where she often felt the need to defend her mother's presence. Yeah, she is, Emma replied, her voice firmer. And that's a good thing for me. Right. Jake expected nodding was enough, but she could see him weighing it all in his head. Would he accept this new version of her? The rain started falling harder, as if the clouds were echoing her churning thoughts. Emma was torn, wanting to stand strong for herself and her mom, while feeling the weight of judgment creeping in from outside sources. She could almost hear Riley's words replay. Trust in yourself. The crowd around them was a whirlpool of laughter and chatter. Some danced in the rain, but Emma felt no joy in the chaos. This was more than just a moment at her graduation. It was the culmination of her past struggles. "Why'd you decide to invite her anyway? You know what they say, right? Some things are better left buried." "They don't know her like I do." The words flew out before she could stop herself, echoing in the air like a clarion call amid the downpour. She took a step back, stunned by her own outburst. "The truth is," Emma took a breath, grounding herself, "we weren't perfect, but we fought to get to where we are now. I won't hide that anymore. Not from you, not from anyone." Jake seemed taken aback, but intrigued, the challenge apparent on his face. "So you think people will just accept it?" "It's not about acceptance. It's about owning my truth," Emma said, her voice gaining strength with every word. "I'm tired of feeling ashamed for loving my mom. I deserve to celebrate our progress." The wind howled, mingling with her rising confidence. As the droplets continued to pour, Emma found herself seeking the warmth of the moment, the connection that wove threads through family and friends despite past storms. Just then, another clap of thunder rolled overhead, making her jump. And as she instinctively reached out for Jake's arm to steady herself, she realized how fragile the line between vulnerability and strength could be. "Are you okay?" he asked, suddenly leaning closer. This was a different side of him, curious, almost concerned. "Yeah," she exhaled, her pulse slowing. "I just feel like everything is shifting right now, and—" her voice dropped to a whisper, "I hope everyone can see that." Jake nodded, an unexpected understanding dawning in his gaze. "That's powerful," he said softly. "More powerful than hiding away." Just then she caught sight of her mother waving happily at someone, her face illuminated with joy. It was truly happening. They were together, out in this storm of doubts and shattered memories, ready to shift perceptions. But Emma couldn't shake the unease that lingered, barely hidden beneath her brave facade. As the clouds began to swirl ominously above, she felt a familiar sense of urgency rise again. She couldn't let fear control this moment for her, not anymore. And as her eyes searched the thrumming crowd, she spotted Riley, his expression a mix of worry and encouragement, still standing tall. The magnetic pull of their connection reminded her she wasn't alone. "Do you think you'll be able to stay and weather this storm?" Jake asked, shifting his weight. "Because it looks like the downpour is just getting started." Emma took a deep breath and felt the storm raging not just outside but within her. This wasn't just about graduation, it was about healing, about acceptance. But would this storm draw her closer to the truth or tear everything apart? As the first clap of thunder echoed again and the rain pelted down harder, she knew she had a choice to make, and every fiber of her being urged her to stand firm no matter the chaos around her. Would Emma embrace the thunder that heralded change, or would the weight of doubt crush her just as she felt she was beginning to lift above the storm? The rain pounded down like a drum, and the world around Emma blurred with the spray of the storm. But her focus held steady on Jake, whose curious gaze seemed to peel back layers of her defenses. She felt an electric tension in the cool air, a connection she hadn't anticipated amid the chaos of the day. "What if I told you I want to change how people see her?" Emma said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "Not everyone gets the chance to understand the story behind the headlines. She's not just the mad mother everyone gossips about. She's my mom. She deserves to be seen for who she is." Jake leaned closer, the distance between them shrinking in the downpour, as if the rain itself sculpted a new space for honesty. "And how do you plan to do that?" His voice was soft, drawing Emma in further as wide eyes searched for answers in her own heart. "By owning our story together," she replied, pulling strength from the weight of her resolve. What if the acceptance she longed for wasn't the reality waiting for her? Would everyone truly see her mother for who she was? or would lingering shadows of the past keep them shackled? The rain intensified, creating a symphony of sound that echoed the swirls of her thoughts. Just then, a crack in the clouds allowed a fleeting ray of sunlight to cut through the gloom. Maybe a light, however temporary, might guide them through the storm. As she searched Jake's face for reassurance, she caught a glimpse of worry mixed with admiration. But what was about to unfold would push Emma beyond her comfort zone, testing her resolve like never before. In that moment, she realized the full scope of the storm wasn't just weathering a downpour, it was opening herself up to judgment, to healing, and to the possibility of change. Would this be the moment she finally embraced the complexity of her truth, or would she retreat back into the shadows, hiding from the very acceptance she had fought for? Emma watched the sunlight flicker in and out, barely penetrating the thick clouds. The moment was fragile. It felt like a thread dangling over an abyss. But Jake's presence grounded her, his unwavering gaze urging her to step forward. "Do you think it's time?" she asked Jake, voice barely above the thunder's rumble. "Time for what?" he replied, leaning in. "To really show who we are," she said, catching a breath filled with both fear and hope. "To tell our story." She tasted the words on her tongue, testing their weight as she peered past the thrashing rain at her mother, twirling in delight over a patch of wildflowers. Emma couldn't help but smile at the sight. Her mom, lost in her own joy while the world tried to label her otherwise. This was the real her. "But what if they don't want to hear it?" Jake asked, cautiously. Emma blinked through the downpour, her heart racing. "It doesn't matter if they want to. What matters is that we're ready to share." As she took a step forward, determination coursing through her veins, Riley's laughter rang out again among their friends. A few classmates caught sight of Emma's mother, pointing and whispering. Instant tension twisted in Emma's gut. Her instinct was to grab her mom and pull her away from the judgment. She wanted to protect her from those stares. "What if they just see her as a spectacle?" Emma murmured, her courage wavering. Jake shook his head. "Then that's their loss. But you have to show them who she really is. This moment isn't just for you, it's for her." Emma felt the words land heavily, filled with meaning. Could she really do this? Show the world her mother's truth, the chaos and beauty that was woven together in every fiber of their lives? "Yeah," she whispered, more to herself than to Jake. "I can't stay hidden behind those shadows anymore. Not now." Cradling the realization, she stepped back towards her mom, her breath steadying. She approached her with cautious excitement. "Hey, Mom, look!" she called out, waving her arms as if she were trying to keep her afloat against the rushing tide of the storm. "You've got to come here!" Her mother turned, a puzzled look on her face that quickly morphed into a bright smile. The wildflowers splattered against the drumming rain created a painting of joy and color. It was as if the world shifted for just that moment and time slowed right down. "Emma, look how beautiful they are!" Her mother twirled again, her laughter ringing out, almost a beacon in the storm. "Mom, everyone is here. We're graduating, but I want you here, with me, showing your real self." Her mom's eyes sparkled, confusion giving way to understanding and pride. She stepped carefully through the mud, rain streaming down her face, giving her the appearance of resilience that Emma had always admired. But just then, as her mother moved closer, a voice broke through the laughter from the crowd. "You shouldn't be here!" It was a classmate, tone laden with disdain. "No!" she shouted, half protesting, half shaking in disbelief. "You don't know her! You only see what you want to see!" The tension hung in the air, visible and sharp. Eyes turned toward Emma and her mother, brimming with judgment, fascination, and even a touch of terror. A silence descended, heavy with expectation. Jake was close behind her, backing her up with unwavering support. "You don't get to define them!" he exclaimed, his voice rising above the storm. Emma felt a rush of strength from his words, ready to reclaim the narrative. But the sharp edge of doubt still pricked at her mind. Would they listen? Could she break through the barriers of preconception and reveal the truth that mattered? With hesitant breaths, she glanced around at the crowd, at faces she had shared classes with, laughter and struggles. In that moment, hope sparked in her chest. Maybe this storm had a purpose beyond the rain. Maybe it was about unveiling the layers of their true selves. "Maybe you'll see," she said, holding her mother's hand tightly. "Maybe you'll see the beauty in the rain." But as she stood at the precipice of vulnerability, ready to dive into the chaos of acceptance, something caught her eye. A figure in the back of the crowd with an all-too-familiar face. It made her heart race, and the question turned into an iceberg of uncertainty. Was it really possible for demons of the past to remain buried, or would they rise up to challenge her at the worst moment? The thunder rumbled ominously again, and Emma readied herself for the storm ahead. Would this truly be the moment she sought, or would it open up old wounds she couldn't handle? "Emma, what are you doing?" The words sliced through the air, a cool breeze on an already tense afternoon. Emma's eyes darted toward the source of the voice, her breath catching in her throat. It was Leela, her former best friend, the one who had turned on her just when Emma needed support the most. Leela stood at the edge of the crowd, arms folded, eyebrows drawn together with a mix of confusion and disdain. Behind her, the laughter and chatter dropped to an uneasy hush. Emma felt as if the air had thickened, pressing against her chest, making it hard to speak. "Is this some kind of joke?" Leela continued, scanning the scene with a look that was half disbelief, half venom. Her demeanor was stiff, her voice dripping with all the judgment Emma had feared. "Leela, it's not like that," Emma called out, striving for control over her own emotions. "She's my mom. I want to celebrate her." Leela snorted lightly, the kind of sound that made Emma's stomach lurch. "You think she belongs here? You're just embarrassing yourself." Behind Emma, she could feel Jake's steady presence, like the anchor she desperately needed. He stepped forward, a quiet challenge in his stance. "You don't get to dictate who belongs where," he said firmly. Emma's heart fluttered at Jake's defense, but Leela's derision had reopened old wounds. Memories of their friendship, once buttery smooth, now felt gritted with sand. The time when Leela had laughed with her, conspiring against the world, sharing secrets in the back of classrooms, flashed through Emma's mind like a cruel joke. But beneath the crushing weight of the moment, Emma felt a flicker of resolve. She turned back to her mom, who clutched the wildflowers like they were a life raft. The vibrant colors made her stand out, a rainbow amid the grayness, bold and unyielding. "Mom, let's show them," she urged, bringing her voice above the low murmurs echoing around them. "Show them who you really are." Her mother met her gaze, eyes brightening with fierce determination. "I'm ready," she declared, her voice sincere and strong. Emma felt a rush of warmth, like sunlight breaking through after a long storm. Then, just as Emma began to smile, the tension snapped back with Leela's next words, a sneer woven in. "What's next? A dance? A magic show? Because let's be honest, all of this is just a circus act." Laughter erupted from a few of Leela's followers, mocking, piercing through Emma's moment of hope. But instead of retreating, something shifted inside her. She felt that spark become a flame. "Maybe you don't understand what a real family looks like," Emma shouted, her voice rising above the din. "But I'm proud of mine, proud of her." The words surged out of her, setting off a cascade of emotion she hadn't anticipated. They echoed in the growing silence, drawing the attention of everyone. Her mother stood straighter, a smile breaking through the remnants of confusion. "This isn't just me, this is who we are, together." Emma seized that moment. "You think you know us, maybe the joke's on you. My life isn't a spectacle, it's freedom." She could see some hesitant faces among the classmates, the laughter dying down. They were starting to listen. Maybe fear and acceptance didn't need to be opposites. Maybe her mother's truth could bridge that gap. But then she felt it again, something pulling at her attention, that figure in the crowd still holding her gaze. Emma turned, squinting through the rain, her heart pounding as she recognized the familiar features. It was Casey, the boy from her past, the one who had understood too much, who had once seen her when others couldn't. His expression was unreadable, and as their eyes met, the world around them disappeared for a heartbeat. Emma felt her resolve waver just long enough to ask the piercing question of whether he would support her or tear into her. What secrets lay behind that gaze, and would fear of her past overshadow the courage she had just found? The storm raged on, the thunder crashing above, as Emma braced herself for yet another challenge. Would this day truly be about acceptance and pride, or would old wounds resurface, dragging her back into darkness? Emma's heart raced as she held Casey's stare, each beat punctuating her anxiety like drum beats in the distance. The storm clouds swirled ominously around them, matching the turmoil she felt inside. Was this the moment she would finally stand up against the ghosts of her past, or would they pull her back into the shadows? Casey. Casey's voice broke through the silence, low and cautious as if stepping on fragile glass. I didn't know. His words hung heavy in the air, full of questions and implications. Emma's throat felt tight as she broke eye contact, shifting her gaze to the ground. What did he know? Did he remember the darkness that had once swept her life away? Don't! Leela's bitter voice pierced through the moment, reminding Emma of the fight at hand. She wanted to respond, to unleash the words that burned in her chest, but her thoughts were tangled in the past. Casey's concern felt like a lifeline and a heavy chain at the same time. As the rain poured down, mixing with the tension in the air, Jake stepped closer to Emma, his support unwavering. This is her moment, Leela, not yours. We came here to celebrate. The quiet strength in his voice took her breath away and rekindled her spirit. Right, Emma shouted, twisting back to face her audience, determination igniting in her eyes. This is more than just a celebration. This is about being who we are, even when others can't handle it. Leela rolled her eyes, but slowly the other students began to murmur among themselves. A few brave faces nodded, unsure, but twisting their own emotional turmoil into support. Could they finally see the truth? Mom, remember the stories you used to tell me? Emma pressed, her voice softer but firm. About how you fought for your dreams even when they seemed impossible? Her mother's eyes shone with unshed tears, a radiant glow in the gluey backdrop. Yes, Emma. Show them, Emma urged her, stepping aside. Show them your strength. With renewed vigor, her mother stepped forward, clutching the wildflowers against her heart, looking radiant in the rain-soaked chaos around them. You may not understand my past, but it does not define who I am today. I am proud of my journey. I fought through my battles and emerged alive. A gasp echoed from the crowd, followed by a hush that swallowed Leela's sneering laughter. Emma's breath quickened. The shift felt electric. People were listening. Who could have imagined that this moment would redefine her mother in the eyes of their peers? See, Emma continued, her voice steadying, we are not hiding anymore. This is who we are. Different, unapologetic, beautiful. A distant clap of thunder rumbled above, and a few raindrops fell from her hairline, reminding Emma that life was messy but beautiful. The world didn't have to be perfect, just brave. And just when sighs of uncertainty seemed to fill the space, she heard a quiet voice from the crowd. She's right. A boy she recognized briefly from class stepped forward. You can't choose your family, but you can still be proud of who you are. A ripple of surprise and unity sparked around them. But in that same moment, Casey spoke again, his voice more confident now. Emma, what you're doing takes more strength than any of us can understand. But as she turned to face him, a conflicting array of emotions flickered behind his eyes. They were like fragments of dreams, each trying to break its silence. With that glance, Emma felt all the weight of their shared history tumble down like monsoon rain. So much unsaid, so many moments that could have bridged the gap. But would they ever find the words? Would she find the answer she sought? Or would Casey's burden intertwine with her own, complicating the fragile place she'd built? Amidst the conflicting emotions, Emma's awareness of the crowd started to shift again. The moment held its breath. As Casey stepped forward, did he come to embrace her truth, or was he about to reveal something that could shatter her newfound hope? As shadows stirred and hearts quickened, Emma braced herself, knowing that the tide of this day was turning once more. What secrets lay buried behind Casey's encouragement, and would the truth draw them closer or push them apart? Emma's heartbeat thumped like a drum as she met Casey's determined gaze, the rain pouring down, a curtain of water separating her from the outside judgment. With everyone hanging on the edge of uncertainty, a moment pregnant with possibility, Emma took a deep breath. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice rising above the relentless rain. The silence around them pulsed, the tension hanging thick enough to cut. For a brief, electrifying moment, it felt like time stood still. Casey had always seen her, her flaws, her trials, and now, perhaps, her strength.
"Fear. It falls away when faced with love," Emma declared, spinning in joyous connection, and a shimmer of faith washed over her. She turned to Riley, who clapped with pride, then to Jake, who shared a smile overflowing with genuine acceptance. "We're all in this together," one of her classmates shouted, their once distant gaze now softened by understanding. And with that, a ripple of courage sparked through the crowd, lifting everyone to the truth. The real story was never about the madness. It was about the love, the struggle, and the unyielding spirit to continue rising above. As they danced together in the rain, under a sky that seemed to echo the beauty of their experience, Emma felt tethered to all of them, heart open wide. "This is just the beginning," she proclaimed, her spirit alight, radiating more power than she'd ever known. Their world, raw and chaotic, was truly theirs to write, a tapestry of love that bound them through trials and triumphs, broken and beautiful. No more whispers of shame, only the sweet symphony of resilience singing in every drenched heartbeat around her. And as the storm transformed into a gentle drizzle, they looked into the horizon, ready for whatever came next, riding on the wings of acceptance, defiance, and love. Their love. Emma barely had time to breathe before her heart surged with exhilaration. This was it! This was freedom! And in that electric moment, as sunlight began to break through the clouds, she knew they'd rewrite the narrative together. This is the moment to act. Subscribe immediately to our channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories of transformation. Leave a like now to feed that algorithm so we can grow together, stronger than ever. Comment below and share your feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Spread the love. You need to be part of this journey.